Yeah.
Subz, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. Thanks you so much, Itu, for having me on. Yeah, I'm very good. I'm in a good space. Winter's over now, so it's spring. So yeah, happier.
Yeah, I'm also very excited that it's now spring, and I mean it's a like a time
Yeah.
to just sit outside and wear shorts again, which is quite
Ish,
cool.
it's been a while.
Cool. So, Subs, please tell us a little bit about yourself. So, who is Sibusiso? Where you from? Things like that.
Okay, cool. Um, my full name is Sibusiso Sibisi. I'm actually from KZN. I grew up in a township called Newlands West. Before that, I was actually born in a township called Guamashu, a very popular area in South Africa. Born in a section there called Kwai. So I grew up over there between the ages of, let's say, 0 to about 7 years old. We then moved in Newlands West, which was a mix between Indian folk and black folk. Lived there, studied also in Durban, and then my university life. I also then completed that at UKZN. I'm actually raised by a single parent. She's a nurse. I've got a younger brother as well, who's 3 years younger than me. And then just to make things a little bit more interesting, I'm actually my heritage is actually from Nkandla. Uh,
Yo. I've got the right man today.
actually from Nkandla area called Emergency Gazi.
Sure.
And just for fun's sake, like when I was young, I used to herd cattle when I was in Nkandla. So we'd go up the mountain. There's a specific mountain called Etaleni, so we'd go Etaleni, and if
Yeah,
you go to a certain part of Etaleni, you could actually see JZ's house
yeah,
all the way from there. So yeah, yeah,
sure. And I can imagine it wasn't probably as prim and proper as it is now, I'm assuming.
yeah. So it wasn't, but to tell the truth, it always did stand out. It always did stand out. But obviously, it's not what it is today. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, so you shared quite an interesting, diverse view of where you grew up from a KZN perspective. I
yes.
don't know KZN that well, so I'm sure when you're talking AmaE, people from KZN would know.
So,
Nkandla,
so
so you said Nkandla, it's like, sure, at least something I
yeah,
know.
something can relate. So basically, it's like if you've got like a Soweto, it's
Yeah.
got like Sedlamini, Mapetla. It's that was the thing. So I think the oppressors thought you guys were smarter, so they gave you proper words. But for us, they didn't have confidence in us, so they just A B C D.
I mean, with Shaka Zulu, what could you do?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool, man. And thank you so much for sharing that. And you said you were raised by a single parent. I think that's always interesting
Yeah.
to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, just take us a little bit through what was it like for you growing up in KZN as a young boy? What were some of your aspirations? What did you want to do when you grew up? I guess being a young man
Yeah.
like you.
Being a young lad, I thought I didn't think too much of, so let's say I was like between primary school to high school. I just thought of, let's say, doing sports or doing things which help people. But I actually growing up, I actually realized that I didn't have like a person that I could speak to guide my thinking profession wise. So I was a bit all over the place. So it's either sports in Tandi Bola, so sports. When I found out that wasn't going to work out, then I headed the law route. I was
Wow.
like, yeah, I want to be a lawyer because my history and my English was good enough. And then I also realized that I'm not too sure I actually want to do that. So I was actually a bit confused and all over the place. Um, and luckily, so I went to a school called Northwood, and they had a career guidance center.
Mm.
And I remember what they did is they took us through some exercises. We had to fill out like a survey. And then in that survey, it began to guide Uguti what type of professions I'd be suited for. So it started hinting that things to do with economic activities are things that I should look at. It also guided that things like management are things that I should like. Management sciences are things that I should consider based on my profile.
Yeah.
So that was quite helpful. But I was still I was still very lost. I was still very lost. I didn't know where I'm actually going.
Yeah.
And if I can just share the story, what actually happened is I used to attend a lot of youth. So I'm a Christian, just want to declare that up front. So I used to attend youth. And in attending youth, I was friends with a particular lady, and her mom actually had a book about careers.
Ah,
And then chilling, hanging out, casual, I actually picked up this book, and then I found something called industrial psychology, and then they began to break down what industrial psychology does, and then I was actually very interested in, the type of psychology that it was. And then I think that's where the curiosity for industrial psychology in me was then planted, reading that book when I was visiting my friend.
sure.
Yeah, so up until then I was not very clear, but when I picked up that book, it was a little bit clearer.
Look, I'm excited. Often we hear we don't like reading. So when you spoke about
Yeah.
picking up a book, I thought you were going to tell us, I looked at it, it was nice. I put it back on the
Yeah.
table.
No, so I don't know, like I just got to very specific pages and then it was like boom, it was just actually speaking a whole lot of sense and I was like, let me look into this. But the funny thing is this, here's the interesting thing. I'd never met an industrial psychologist in my life. The only psychologist that I'd ever met was somebody I met at church, and he was a clinical psychologist. And you know, clinical psychology is when you're working with people with depression,
Yeah.
you're working with people who are very heavy laden with life. And I just knew, listen, like I cannot spend 8 hours a day talking to people about heavy things. I was like, I'm not gonna do well. So, but I also knew that I wanted to do something in psychology, but I didn't know what. So, industrial psychology merges business and the psychology. So for me, it was just like a perfect match. It was just like, this is what I want to do. But the interesting thing is, I'd never really met an industrial psychologist proper. Yeah.
Interesting. So you read the book, it gave you a bit of sense in terms of which direction to go. So I'm assuming you went on and studied industrial psychology.
Yes, I went on and I studied industrial psychology. So I went to UKZN. I studied in industrial psychology. But there's another interesting story because Angiti, this program and these discussions that you have are about helping people.
Yeah.
So I landed UKZN. So back where I'm sure when we were studying, there's something called orientation week or something like that. Or
Yeah.
they basically used to give you a week where you used to sort out all your studies. For the whole term or for the whole year, they give you a week.
Yeah.
So in that week, I landed up on campus and I'd actually registered for something called IULS, which was Industrial and Organization Labor Studies, had nothing to do with psychology.
Sure.
I don't know how I got into them. But anyway, now I had to then go pick my courses for the year and I was a bit lost. And then out of the blue came this lady who saw she was doing a second year, third year. She saw that I was lost. And she actually took it upon herself to help me construct my courses in such a way, Uguti, for that year and the following year. She basically laid it out for me and told me what I need to do so that I could have I could end up with a major in industrial psychology. I could also end up with a major in industrial and organization labor studies.
Wow.
And that actually helped me a lot because by the time I got to second year and third year, there were people who were also studying psychology, but they could not take their studies further because how the modules they'd structured it from the beginning was not correct.
Correct. Yeah.
So I was actually, it's like I met an angel that day, or I met somebody who was God sent, who helped me to be able to construct my studies. Without her, I maybe would have spent an extra term or an extra year at university for something which was actually very avoidable.
Wow. Actually, that's quite interesting. It reminds me of the first week, that whole week.
Yes.
And I mean, just choosing subjects was weird because some of the subjects, like I remember, so I had one subject in psychology, and then there was some human behavior stuff which I thought this is fascinating, but there are no descriptions.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's just subjects, and then it's either one or two which says it's a first year or second year, and then A or whatever.
Yes.
It's interesting to hear that even in KZN you had a similar structure in terms of the orientation. Sure.
Yes, it's very, very
And I
interesting.
must say, it's very confusing. I completely agree with you. You need someone who's been there to kind of guide you through the process.
I certainly hope things have changed. Uguti, maybe now they've got more information on the website, and even under the specific schools, Uguti, people can now log in and construct, because to construct, basically you're constructing your degree.
Yeah,
And how do you put the responsibility of constructing a degree on a 17 or 18-year-old who's come out of high school?
exactly.
It's a lot, yeah.
Well, it's tough, and it makes you appreciate curricula that we had from school that is already set for you. So you know, in grade one, this is what you do. Grade two,
Yes.
what you do. So,
Yes.
wow, school was amazing.
It was a breeze. Science and maths wasn't so bad after all, right? Because you
Exactly.
knew algebra and calculus is coming. You knew. Yeah. Yeah.
So after first year, so what then happened? How long was your qualification in UKZN, the industrial psychology one?
Okay, so it took me 3 years to finish my degree. So that was between 2007 till 2009. And then I then decided to do my honors because I knew that I wanted to become an industrial psychologist. So one of the things you have to do is then do your honors. And then so I spent 2010 doing my honors. And then 2011 and 2012, I was doing my master's degree, also from UKZN. So that then completed my early education. Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So 2012, you're now complete with your masters. At that point, you'd then be sort of getting into an internship or sort of getting into that professional
Yes.
PCSA registration process so that
Ex-
you become an industrial psychologist.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm so glad you've explained the journey for our listeners as well. Good. See, first you have to do a degree, then an honors, then a master's, and then you have to find a company which is going to supervise you for that year. So I was fortunate enough to find a company here in Johannesburg in 2012 was going to supervise me. So they took me up there. It was actually three of us from UKZN, three learners. I was actually the only boy. So they took us up that year in 2012. They took us through a lot. They gave us practical exposure because now we'd been studying these human behavior courses
Yeah.
in varsity and not got a day of working experience. So they actually brought the content which we'd been studying. They actually brought that content to life. And then I was assigned a supervisor. A supervisor was working with me for the 12 months, and then in the middle of that, I was then going to write a board exam. I think I wrote the board exam. It must have been around around April, and then the results came out, and then so 70% was the pass mark, and guess what I got? I got 70% on the dot.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
I think they just I don't know, maybe I answered some questions well, and then they saw it's a shame, and this boy let's just let's just give it to him, because I got 70% on the dot. So yeah, so grateful that happened. And then the job of the supervisor, when they supervise your industrial psychology internship, the goal there is just to make sure that you're getting exposure, let's say in psychometrics, career psychology, change management. They just make sure you're getting that exposure for the 12 months. Yeah. So it was a good, was a very, I had a very good internship year. What my employer did for me at that time, it was a company called Mac Consulting. They're here in Joburg. They even took us through psychometric training. So I'm accredited now to do psychometrics, like, MBTI, those big ones, CPP, OPQ. These are personality assessments. So I'm so fortunate. And the average cost of these things is like 15,000.
Yeah.
Where was I going to get 15,000 in 2012? So that's like 15,000 times four. So I think I'm so grateful that they did that for us.
Sure. Wow. Your employer was generous at the time, clearly. So, I mean, so now you can give feedback on people that have done those assessments and then administer those assessments as well.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's the opportunity that I got. So it's gonna stick with me for life, basically.
It's an,
What
it's an,
what they did for me in 2012. So I'm actually very grateful for that. Yeah.
sure. It's an awesome opportunity. So, which route did you then take after your internship? Where did you go after that?
Okay. So I actually have a story about that. So completed my internship.
Yeah.
It expired. It finished in about May 2013.
Okay.
And around about that time, there was a cycle in that the company specifically wasn't performing too well. So remember, they moved me up from Durban to Joburg, and there was a great promise of permanency,
Yeah.
permanent employment. But their conditions meant that they wouldn't be able to keep everyone.
Yeah.
And I think, well, unfortunately for me at the time, I was then one of those people that they actually didn't want to keep.
Sure.
And that was a huge blow for me because like I said, all I had was a year of working experience.
Mm.
And remember, I told you that there were 3 interns. So there were 3 of us who they took from Durban. And I was the only one that they said they don't want to continue with.
You.
So that was a huge career blow, a huge personal blow, a huge blow to my pride.
Mm.
And like, can you imagine if corporate is saying to you within the first opening 12 months, they're like, yeah, we see you, but no, we actually don't want to continue with you. I mean, that is just that is a huge stomach blow to a young person. So I then was unemployed between April and May. I mean, so sorry, for the whole month of April. I then found my next opportunity in May 2013. It was a small consulting company that I managed to join in May 2013. And I was with them from May 2013, and I'm still, yeah, and so I'm still with them now. I'm serving my notice because it's time to move on. I've got other aspirations that I and am wanting to fulfill. So it was a blessed opportunity, yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So, in that period between April and May, did you go back home to KZN, or you stuck around in Joburg?
Yeah. So I actually stuck it out in Joburg. I think I had a roommate and we had a contract that we were basically had to live out under.
Sure.
And like I said, it was actually a huge knock to my confidence, and I couldn't bear the thoughts of going home and seeing my former neighbors, and they're like, "Yo, what happened to you? Shouldn't you be in Joburg?" So I actually stuck it out. I was like, I'm gonna stick this thing out because yeah, I didn't want that to happen. But also, Durban, as compared to Johannesburg, has very limited job opportunities, in my view, for young people. So I always knew that let me just stick it out. It's gonna be painful, but let me just stick it out.
Awesome. So you stayed with your new company. You said from 2013 May up until sort of roundabout now, because
Yes,
you
yes,
said
yes.
this now.
Yeah.
Okay, and what was the nature of the work you were doing in that space? Was it still within practicing as an industrial psychologist, or were you doing other things?
Okay, cool. So I landed, yeah, okay. So initially it was a very generic post.
Okay.
Once again, which was a knock, right? Because remember, I've gone through the trouble of being qualified, of being admitted in my profession,
Mm.
and I remember the first few months, all I was doing was just doing documentation and admin.
Sure.
They still called it a consulting role, but the actual practical work I was doing, I was actually punching in people's ID numbers and things like that. That's what I was doing. And I'm thinking, Uguti, I've done all this studying with a master's degree just to land up just to land up punching Itu's ID numbers and his credentials. I was like,
Sure.
Actually, then I stuck it out. And we were working in Excel. I hated it. I stuck it out. It was actually very depressing. Stuck it out though, and then we moved. They moved me on to another client. It was actually they moved us on into ESCOM at the time. Still doing a lot of generalist work, and then but they gave me an opportunity to specialize in training and development. So I was then, one of the people managing a training and development program for young up and coming ESCOM managers.
Sure.
So I worked on that for 12 months. That was good. That was good. It allowed me to, in some instances, develop content, engage with the candidates. But as a young person, I still couldn't avoid the data and the admin. So there I was booking accommodation for people and things like that. So, and then I actually then in that year I started, exploring opportunities more within my field. And then I found something. And I was about to leave. And then my company made me a counter offer. They said, look, we want you to stay on and be our organizational development manager. Which is exactly what I'd studied, and now it's just coming to life. So I think I was about 24 at the time, and it was just an insane opportunity. I couldn't let it go. I had to hold it with both hands.
Yeah.
And then I stuck it out in that role, and then I was doing everything that I'd studied and more. I was doing training and development. I was doing recruiting. I was doing some change management, organizational design. I was doing coaching, mentorship, performance management, dealing with suppliers. I was designing things because I need to, in this role, there'd never been an organizational development manager at this company before. So I was the first one. I came in, I had to, set everything in the right structures. And then I was swimming with, directors, and I was reporting to them, and they've got like 15 years of corporate experience, and I was getting slapped around, and it was just traumatic initially. But I managed to swim with them, and I got better year by year. I got better. I didn't quit. I stuck it out, and they ended up actually respecting me and giving me more and more responsibility.
Yeah.
Up until the time that, I was even made a director at one particular point. Just goes to show that, don't give up. In your career, it can, especially when you get into a new role, can be very, very difficult. And you ask yourself a lot of questions, and your mentors and your seniors may be giving you a very, very difficult time. But if you can stick it out, they're actually sharpening you as a diamond. They're sharpening you. Like, try not to take it personally, but just take all the lessons, And then if you stick it out, it's like they then give you a graduation ceremony. You know what I mean? It's like they just, they then give you the hat. They're like, yeah, no, this one we approve.
One of ours.
Yes, he's learned. In the beginning, he used to think he can do it that way. Now he's learned that we do it that way. He's one of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my journey.
Sure. That's amazing. And I like how you've tied it back into the two key parts I want to pick up on, which is the knock that you got when you didn't get the job offer in the other company, and the knock that you're getting as a master's graduate capturing data. That is painful, I can imagine. And then sticking it out to progress to a point where you're even seen as one of the directors, you're even promoted to become a director yourself, and you're able to do your job end to end as well as you pleased. So maybe touch a little bit on how did you deal with those knocks? I mean, you spoke a little bit about how it was a knock to you.
Yeah.
Often we don't know how to bounce back.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, how did you bounce back from the knock of not getting the other job and that whole capturing thing and deciding I'm going to stick it out, even though you were not sure what the future might look like?
Yeah. So let's deal with the first knock. The first knock, it was actually very depressing. I also remember my flatmate, Tukulula. Yeah, he was my flatmate. So he was putting pressure on me, like, Subz, when are you getting a job? Like like, dude, I'm trying. I'm really trying, you know. But I think what helped me there was just to pray, to know that I have worth, that even though other people may not be realizing my worth here and now, I know that I do have worth. I have something to offer. I'm not going to look down on myself. I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to apply for jobs that I feel are even beneath me. I'm going to apply for, because let's be honest, as a 22, 23-year-old, I just need income. So it was just that persistence. And I think for me, that type of persistence, it comes from also being raised by a single parent and also seeing them go through challenges on a day-to-day basis, you know, how resilient they are. So I think what happened is, you know, the time that I'd spent with my mother for like 18 or 17 years, those lessons trickled down to me, and I was able to be resilient, to just put my head down and just keep working hard. And that's what helped me ending up getting employment in the first place. So I was fortunate. I was only unemployed for a month. So that was it. And then so I think the first part is resilience. And where do I get it from? I get it from the person who raised me.
Yeah.
And then and then I entered my new role. But in my new role, I'm a master's graduate, but I'm doing data administration. Very, very difficult. And it was difficult in that also I managed to keep in contact with some of my friends from the first company. And when you hear their stories, they're just telling you their careers doing this.
They're growing.
They're growing. They are now not only, you know, a part of the projects, but now they are running the projects.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that time, I'm here. I'm here.
The ID numbers.
And yeah, dealing and I had to, when I had to meet my friends, I had to know how to be happy for them.
Yeah.
So, and that was difficult, but it gives you humility. When somebody's telling you a good story, don't just wallow, but know how to celebrate somebody else's success, even though you may not have that success at that particular time. Another thing about those opening few months in this company was also, once again, resilience. And I knew that if I was going to do what I was assigned and I was going to do it well, I knew that that was the best way to show these people that the work that you're giving me is too small.
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't going to succeed by complaining to them and saying, no, I'm better than this. Get this thing away from me. How dare you? I knew that wasn't going to work, but I knew that I had to grind, and I had to prove to them by the quality of my outputs that you're not being serious. And I think that's what happened. And that's the advice that I can also give to young people who would say, no, you must not think that you are better than any task, but if anything that is given you, kill it, smash it, and do it well. And that's how you can best communicate to your mentors, Uguti. You know, you are above this now, and you have matured. Yeah. So I think those are the lessons that I picked up, and those are some of the lessons that I can share. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I think it's helpful. And in reflecting back and seeing how you actually progressed out of that place where you are not going to move on or not. And I'm glad you stuck it out, because you wouldn't be where you are now.
and that's the thing, Itu, though, would say, I think, you know, success is not an overnight thing. You've got to be able to stick it out.
Yeah.
If you can't stick it out, then I don't think you're going to get anywhere, or you can get anywhere.
Yeah.
We all have preferences, Uguti. We want to be treated with respect and dignity and courtesy, and we want to be mentally stimulated and challenged. But for some odd reason, that may not occur and happen in a particular season of your life.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't happen, I think we should respond with we should treat it as we're responding to adversity, and just put your head down and work.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that somebody at the end of the day is going to realize the gem that you are. And they're going to realize it by you delivering so well. Yeah.
Definitely. And another powerful thing that you said is they're sharpening you, those type of experiences. They're
Yeah.
making a nicer, beautiful looking diamond at the end
Yeah.
of the day. And when you look back, you actually don't see how weird things were back then. You actually see this nice, glossy thing that people wants to give a lot of worth to.
Exactly. Exactly. And also, like, let's go back. Like, let's say I was dealing with data. I'd never dealt with so much data in my life. So that gave me a sense of how to deal with a lot of data. Do
Yeah.
you get it? So it was an irritating lesson, but at least now I know how to handle data, and no one can test me with data management again, because I can probably do it well. So it just shows that there's no lesson which is lost, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So, and then, well, you're on to your new journey now, potentially.
Yeah.
Then what I'm curious about was something else we spoke about that you're doing for the youth.
Yes.
So explain a little bit, what is it? And
Okay.
what point in your career did you venture into that?
Okay, cool. So, okay. So basically, at the start of the lockdown, so I'm a consultant, and I've got close to now 10 years of being a consultant and working in the industry, and I understand it very well. And it dawned on me, Uguti, with the shutdown, the national shutdown, and all the difficulties that are now going to be happening to the economy, that I had to make a bold prediction. Uguti, what is actually the future of consulting? Is Coca-Cola still going to need consulting services if their sales are going down? And I was like, actually, probably not. So I had to start thinking, how do I still offer value? Because remember, I've got skills. I've been in this profession for 10 years. And just because there's going to be a decline in the industry doesn't mean, Uguti, my skills now become obsolete.
Yeah.
So I then had to start thinking, how do I, what do I feel strongly about? What am I passionate about? And what do I want to do? So that's resulted in me spending time and reflection on a project called Smart Able Youth. It's an initiative for now, but as from the 1st of October, we're going to be running it as a fully fledged business from the 1st of October. And what this business is going to be about is about basically enhancing the job employment prospects of youth. All right. So basically, how we're going to be doing that is that we're going to be firstly providing work readiness programs for young people. So basically, what a work readiness program is basically that, let's say somebody's just finished university, right?
Yeah.
And they're about to head into an IT job, but yes, they can do the IT, but maybe they don't have the level of skills required, let's say by an F&B, or let's say they don't have the interpersonal skills to be able to survive in a business environment. And that's basically what we are going to be focusing on as a company, to be able to upskill talented young people. Uguti, how do they make that leap from university to entering a business? So we're going to be providing them with coaching, with mentorship, psychometric assessments, so that they know what their personality is like, they know what their strengths are. We're going to be also helping them to be noticeable and attractive to potential recruiters, and helping them with placements. So that's the business which is going to go live on the 1st of October. In the interim, during the shutdown, I have been training and interacting with students, and they've found a lot of value in the interaction that they've had with me. So it gives me a lot of confidence, Uguti. This is something which is actually going to work, and something which is going to make a difference for young people.
Yeah. And that's beautiful, because it's actually a gap in the market right now.
Yes.
A lot of the people I've been talking to have said, when you jump from university into work, no one has ever prepared you for that. Even jump from school into university,
Yes.
no one has ever prepared you for that. And
Yes.
that's just the struggle. It's just finding your feet on your first year at varsity or your first year at work. And that on its own, it's quite a massive,
Yeah.
so I can imagine what you guys are going to offer is going to be great help to young people that are entering the market for the first time. I guess it would even be for great help for those that are transitioning from one company to the next, because the cultures are the same.
Yes.
So that opportunity as well in terms of progressing yourself in moving from one company to the next. So sure, that's quite wonderful, and I'm excited about that. So one other thing I wanted to ask you about is, so within that sphere at the moment, are you targeting will you be targeting students, sort of final year students or sort of third year, fourth year students going forward?
Okay, cool. All right, cool. So basically right now, firstly, we're going to be targeting final year students. Final year students who may be doing, let's say, their third year or their fourth year, right? And then after that, we're also going to be working with honors students and master's students as well. But the primary focus is going to be final year students. I think as the service becomes more accepted, becomes more commonplace, we then are going to go down to the second year level and go down to the first year level. But the way I think we can offer the most value for now is to target the final year students, because realistically, they are the ones who are desperately searching for employment. And we also, as a company, at that particular point, would be wanting to desperately help them also find employment. I think also, I'm sure you already know this, but employment for young people is a problem in South Africa. And it's not only is it a problem in South Africa, but it's a problem the world over. And I've actually taken it to heart to go see this is the difference and the legacy that I want to leave for young people. I happen to be 31 years old myself. I've got 4 more years as a youth, and I want to do something for, and I want to do something for people who are in the same age group as me.
Yeah. And look, I mean, Subz, I'm quite chuffed with it. And one of the exciting conversation I know we had offline is the opportunity to collaborate and see how we work around this particular project. Because one of the things I believe is you don't come and try to be everything to everybody.
Yes.
There are aspects where other people can do and that will do very well. Where you can say, okay, let's partner and see how we work together to sort of progress the future of our youth. And one thing I found quite exciting, which was a common ground between the two of us, was just that idea that even when you look back to where we grew up, where we grew up rather, there was no examples of people like ourselves. There's no one, well, there are some people, but there currently not a lot of people that are going back to their communities and saying, cool, I want to plow back and help the young people, the young folks that are growing up where I grew up with the kind of stage and access that I had at the time. And some of them are still struggling as much as we did. So it's a massive opportunity to say, let's plow back in that space and help those guys see what information is available and how we can help. And it's not just about our communities. What you've mentioned as well. That's why it's going online to give it scale.
Exactly. Exactly. So it do like what you actually touch on a very beautiful point. We are a product of the communities where we come from. And you and I, I'm sure we probably know people who are even smarter than us.
Yeah.
We know people who had so much more talent and gifts than us, who at a young age you could tell that they're going to go much more further than us, but purely because of the wrong lifestyle decisions and not having role models, they drifted apart, and now we can't even recognize them. You know what I'm saying? And it breaks our heart, because it's not because of a shortage of talent. It was just that guidance and this type of mentorship. Can you imagine, Idu, if you were a fully fledged operation, let's say in early 2000s, how many people you may have helped? So we must never forget where we come from. We're a product of our community. And people like you and me, we love our community and we still want to serve. And I think Uguti, it all boils down to, we just want to serve.
Yeah.
The business and commercial side of it can come along the line, but if you care about people and you just want to serve first, it's going to make such a difference. Because think about it, to your initiative with mentorship, right? If you're able to because and the reason why mentorship is so important, it do I think it's because mentorship is not happening at a family level.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have the uncles who've been working in F&B and R&B for 20 years.
Yeah.
So there's a gap.
Yeah.
Um, we don't know how to do salary negotiations as well as we should. We don't know how to do conflict management. So there's a very, very big gap. And I think that, the work that you're doing, yeah, I'm so proud of it. And I actually want to just applaud you and celebrate you. It's gonna help so many generations and I'm very excited by it. And I'm happy that we're going to be considering ways to work together in the future as well.
No, thank you so much, Subz, for that. I think that's the intent, to try and help young people be in a better place than where we are currently, and hopefully to even exceed where we are. Take some of what we are doing and expand it, make it even more amazing.
Absolutely.
I mean, with the tech that we have available, I'm sure someone else can make it much smoother and easier with tech.
Yes, yeah.
Quite cool. Any other thoughts that you'd like to share in terms of your career journey, your exploration in terms of helping young people from your perspective?
Just some other things that I can share with young people is that keep going. If you are in a stage where you're looking for a job, don't give up. Make it a personal assignment. Like, maybe say at the start of the day, tell yourself that you want to apply to 10 companies and apply. Work on your CV, have multiple versions of your CV. Talk to your friends, talk to people, network, and that's how you may be able to find a job. If you've got a job and you feel like you're not being challenged, I think if you listen to my story, put your head down, be resilient, and know that you've got value. And also, if you're in a position of you're a young person and this COVID-19 pandemic has really affected your job prospects, I think let me be an example, Uguti. You can make a career change, and that this pandemic doesn't mean that your skills accumulated over numerous years now become useless. Think through how to serve people, and I hope that my little story, it inspires you to think about how you can always be serving other people.
Cool. And thank you so much for that, Subz. I think I really like that idea of bouncing back when you hit.
Yeah.
Because life can hit you quite a lot. I was reading a tweet, I think it's an old tweet even.
Yeah.
And became quite a lot of tweets around this, where someone was saying, here I am, I graduated, I thought I'd be getting a Mercedes Benz and my own apartment. Nothing. A year later, I narrowed down my scale to at least the Polo Vivo. And then maybe a small apartment, still nothing. 3 years later, no job, nothing.
Yeah.
And I guess the one thing you said quite nicely was to say, don't stop trying. Keep pushing.
Yeah.
Try as hard as you can. Keep applying. Keep searching for those opportunities. And even when you get those low opportunities, don't hide the good skills you have. Showcase. Yes, you might be data capturing somewhere, but on the side, offer to do something else.
Yes.
People can see your potential and can see your interest, and can see the stuff you love, so that they can move you that direction. I think that is very, very useful feedback and positive thoughts that you've shared with us.
Yeah.
I really value that, and thank you so much for that.
Yeah, and also based on what you say, you've actually touched on a good point, Uti. Let your skills shine, offer to do something else, and also let your personality shine.
Yeah.
I think Uguti, I was actually talking to a friend of mine this week, and he said to me, we're talking about networking, we're talking about getting business, and we're talking about getting clients. And he's like, Sbu, at the end of the day, let's just keep it simple. In a business meeting, when you're meeting somebody new, don't just delve into the content. How about you just spend time getting to know the person. Just kick it.
Yeah.
Ringani, just ring, and that's also just so that's basically just let your personality shine, because if somebody because basically there's also something called likability at work, which people hardly ever talk about. Likability is the thing that I'm going to work with Itu, not because Itu, let's say for example, is the best at what he does, but I'm going to work with Itu because I actually like spending time with Itu. Every like well, once I've spent time with Itu, it actually I feel good. So Itu may not be the best, at what he does, but he can do it, and I actually enjoy working with him. So those are the things we would say. Let who you are shine to people, and who knows, it may be attractive. And because we live in a society, and even if it's an organization, it's still made of people. So likability still comes about. It's still valuable. Yeah.
There's a digital transformation video I was watching that talks about exactly what you're saying. To say robots and machines are going to come, they're going to be part of life, they'll be part of work, they'll be part of us at some point. But the reality is they are not going to be you.
Yes.
One thing that's not going to change is you. So do not stop being yourself. I like that personality example you just made now, to say keep that personality going, because it's what's going to sustain your existence in the future as well, as you think of how you reinvent yourself and how you connect. And I guess this idea of us connecting as human beings, it will never disappear. So it's
Yes.
something to actually cherish and build on, which is
And I think Uti now people are actually are gonna be craving, I think, that connectivity, that ability to connect even more, during the shutdown, I've had so many opportunities to talk to people, but then people are like, no, 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 I don't want to just talk to you on the phone. Can I see you? Can I see your face? I wanna see your face. So I think the shutdown, it's gonna create this longing, Uti. Obviously, when we get out, Uti, people wanna connect, and when you connect, you want to make sure that you connect and make deep and meaningful relationships. Yeah.
cool. Now, thank you so much, Subz, for your time. And I'll give you an opportunity to just maybe say last couple of thoughts, and then we'll end the conversation with your closing thoughts.
Cool. No, once again, thanks so much, Ito, for having me. I enjoy these types of discussions, and I think I exist to serve young people. And I want to also just thank you for the platform that you've created. You're talking with a lot of experts and professionals, and I really hope and pray this work will continue for the long term, and that you will also get a lot of testimonials of people, saying how much they've been helped by you. And I think the work that you do, we may not see it when the finance minister reports on employment prospects or the employment numbers, but the real ones know the work that you're doing, and thanks for serving our community in this way.
Thank you so much also for volunteering your time. I mean, it makes it easier if you have people to chat to. I could be here on my own, so I appreciate your time. And I appreciate your willingness to share your story and be authentic about what you've experienced, what you went through. I'm sure your mom is very proud of you, looking at how much gravel to get you where you are now. And when you go back to your community in KZN, they'll be very proud of you as well, in terms of what you achieved. I'm sure when we all look forward to the 1st of October.
Yes.
I'm looking out to see what you're launching. And of course, as we continue chatting, we'll see how we can partner and see how we can work together in the future. So I really appreciate that as well. Thank you so much for your time, Subz.
All right. Thanks, Itu. Take care. Thanks.